Yeah, sure thing.
Hey, you sold that car yet?
Yeah, sold it to Carvana.
Oh, I thought you were selling to that guy.
The guy who wanted to pay me in foreign currency, no interest, over 36 months? Yeah, no. Carvana gave me an offer in minutes, picked it up, and paid me on the spot. It was so convenient.
Just like that.
Yeah?
No hassle.
None.
That is super convenient.
Sell your car to Carvana and swap hassle for convenience. Pickup fees may apply.
The difference between amateurs and professionals is simply a matter of process and dedication. Do you have a side passion that you'd love to spend more time on? Or do you feel like life is getting in the way of it? Have you ever felt like you're waiting to find something that's your real true calling? Or is there something that you've always loved that you want to be your main job one day, but you're waiting for a certain amount of success first or something else before you finally get round to it? Today, we're going to be talking about the difference between amateurs and hobbyists versus professionals and how you can create your calling instead of waiting for it to happen. Welcome to the Growth Mindset Podcast. Our quote of the day today is going to be a bit of a long one, but it's going to get you fired up. Many growth-minded people didn't even plan to go to the top. They got there as a result of doing what they love. It's ironic. The top is where the fixed mindset people hunger to be. It is where many growth-minded people arrive as a byproduct of their enthusiasm for what they do. Yes, what you do is really important, and that is exactly what we're going into today, and how to make what you do the thing that you love. Now, let me start this correctly. I hate the whole find your calling stuff because there is so much crap around it. It creates this false illusion that there is an easy thing out there for you that's going to be crazy enjoyable. You're going to be crying with happiness every single moment of your life. Nothing you do will ever feel like work to you because it's bollocks. The worst part about this illusion is that it makes it sound like we won't even need to work hard or take any risks to get there. It is simply a lie. A signed job contract means that you will show up a certain number of days a week for a certain number of hours, and this is your profession. For a side project to give you any rewards, you have to show up at a fixed regular commitment. If you're writing, podcasting, gardening, music, you have to keep up the work. To succeed in something, the commitment is no longer a question, you have to do it. And it's actually, it's not that bad. For example, for podcasting, you don't have to work every day or even every week. You could do seasons with long breaks in between, or you could publish once a month. The schedule is up to you, but you have to commit to it. An excerpt I really love from Seth Godin is, "Creativity is the result of desire to find a new truth, solve an old problem, or to serve someone. Process saves us from the poverty of our intentions." You can't always do much about how you feel, particularly when it's something important, but you can always control your actions. Your work is too important to be left to how you feel today. If you condition yourself to work without flow, it's more likely to arrive. The strategy of seeking your calling creates a very easy place for you to hide from doing the actual hard work that is needed to create your calling. It's only after we do the difficult work that it becomes our calling. Only after we trust the process does it become our passion. Do what you love is for amateurs. Love what you do is for professionals. Something I really want you to take away from this podcast is the words, "when I feel like it," those words mean never. And whenever you hear yourself saying it or someone else saying it, I want you to hear that as a red flag to it's something that's just not enough of a priority that'll ever get round to happening. So doing things when you feel like it without the pressure is a lovely idea in principle, but be warned that time inevitably goes much faster than you expect. When people stop taking music lessons, they'll often promise themselves they'll still find time to play. I'll do it when I get the time or when I just feel like it. And years later, the instrument will lie hardly touched at the back of a room somewhere or in an attic, and waiting for your fancy to take you somewhere is like waiting for muscles to appear without going to the gym. It doesn't happen. Finding time for something is not done for you. No one will find time for you. If you are too busy this week, next week, someone isn't going to magically create some time to make you do the thing you want to do. The only person that will do it is you. everyone else in the world will be using your time for something other than the thing you want to do. So you have to ignore whatever the world is telling you to do that thing. So as an example, I'll talk about my writing, which has very much been a hobby for me for the last 7 months. It's something I really enjoy doing. And this episode is actually based on an article in my newsletter. And writing has been a retreat for me from the chaos of my ADHD and many overwhelming things happening. It's been lovely, but I've only done it when I've found the time. And thus my newsletter has some interesting statistics. So I published 15 blogs and I managed to complete another 5, but didn't publish them because I thought they'd be part of a series. However, I have 24 articles that are almost ready. I have 19 that are in progress. I have 22 that are in a basic outline. And then I have another 27 that were not started and another 29 that don't even have a status. And basically I have over 130 articles at different levels of finished, which are all it would be great to write these sometimes. I think these are amazing ideas, but they lie unloved in my Notion, and I would be a much wiser person and I'd be a more prolific person if I was publishing them. The thing I've struggled with is no one makes me do it, or there isn't a submission date, or no one will prioritize it for me over my other work. But I have concluded that writing is something that shouldn't be in my fun hobby pile. The rewards for me are personally really great, but that just hasn't been enough for me yet to go and do it regularly unless I decide to make a real commitment and prioritize this as part of my week. I have to treat it professionally. I'll never become a writer waiting for this to happen. On the flip side, I am a podcaster. I've been doing this regularly, week in, week out, sometimes 2 episodes a week for 5 years. But I actually am now going in the other direction, in that I'm maybe considering producing less episodes, perhaps less than once a week, because for the last 2 years, I've been depending on editors to help me get content out there quickly. But the quality that they've been putting out in the episodes doesn't match what I want it to be, because I think as a podcaster, you're as good as your last episode. And I have a backlog of some episodes that I'm not that proud of anymore, which when I was editing myself did not happen. And as an editor, it's going to be my duty to make everything truly brilliant. And I love crafting things to the level of brilliance, but it's not super easy and it's going to take me a bit of time, but I'd rather have it come out like every 2 weeks and reduce the output that I'm doing, but keep it truly professional, because I feel like actually, though I've had consistent output, it's felt more like a hobby because I haven't made it truly brilliant. So there's a mix of how much you do something to keep it professional, as well as how regularly and how much thought goes into how good the thing is that you're doing. So when I started the podcast, for the first year, it grew like crazy because I was editing everything. And then because it got so big, I was making enough money to pay people to do it, and it didn't make money above that, but it kept at the same level. But then it stopped growing because it wasn't as brilliant as it could have been. And that's totally my own fault. And so I'm now making a commitment to also become more professional as a podcaster again, because it's something I really love doing, and I'd love to do it more and have the show grow again, because it's been okay. I'm going to make it brilliant. And that's my commitment to you as listeners. So thank you for listening. Back to you. Another excerpt from Seth Godin, who is a brilliant writer, is this: the easiest way to go through life is to let life go through you. Give in to the prevailing winds and go along to get along. This requires very little effort because you're not working with intent, at least not your own intent. You are getting by. A sailboat goes slowest when it's going downwind. That's because the sail acts as a parachute, meaning the boat can't go any faster than the wind behind it. Sailboats, however, are optimized to go across the wind. And if you aren't into sailing, you might not realize this analogy, but boats move way faster when they go across the wind. And if they're going with the wind, they only move slower than the current wind speed. And the point is, we as people only make a difference in the world when we seek to make a difference. It doesn't happen by waiting for it. If you spend all day hitting a ball back, you'll never end up being the one serving the ball. Responding or reacting to incoming asks becomes your everyday. So honestly, as you go through life, there will always be opportunities for things that you're already known for. If you want opportunities for something else, you have to cut free and you have to do your own thing without anyone expecting that you will succeed or trying to help you. You have to take the risks and make yourself do the things you want to become known for and build the career doing what you want. Now we're going to have a quick break for advertisers, and then we will be back to discuss how to implement these lessons in your day-to-day and the 4 burners theory of excellence in your life. So do please stay tuned. Richard Feynman is famous for saying that it is essential to understand the difference between knowing the name of a thing and truly knowing the thing. The fundamental problem is that we stop questioning. Well, my sponsor today is the podcast Constant Wonder, who want to help you build back the questioning habit and look at the world around you with a sense of curious and constant wonder. I recently enjoyed an episode on their show about the minds of bees and the fact that each neuron in the brain of a bee has over 600 connections to other neurons, and that they can count using only 4 neurons, and besides their 2 main eyes, they have 3 eyes in the middle of their forehead, which is quite a bonkers arrangement, and certainly has made me look at bees in a new way. If you like to build some sense of wonder into your life with topics such as how to cool the earth using the sun, or how to reforest the desert, or how humans can learn to use echolocation to navigate themselves, well, you're in luck. You can tune into the podcast Constant Wonder wherever you get your podcasts.
Wow.
What's up?
I just bought and financed a car through Carvana in minutes.
You? The person who agonized 4 weeks over whether to paint your walls eggshell or off-white bought and financed a car in minutes?
They made it easy. Transparent terms, customizable down and monthly. Didn't even have to do any paperwork.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Hey, have you checked out that spreadsheet I sent you for our dinner options?
Finance your car with Carvana and experience total control. Financing subject to credit approval.
Hey, I'm Ryan Reynolds. Recently, I asked Mint Mobile's legal team if big wireless companies are allowed to raise prices due to inflation. They said yes. And then when I asked if raising prices technically violates those onerous 2-year contracts, they said, "What the f*** are you talking about, you insane Hollywood ass?" So to recap, we're cutting the price of Mint Unlimited from $30 a month to just $15 a month. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
$45 upfront payment equivalent to $15 per month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Taxes and fees extra. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes. See details.
Okay, so reflecting on this episode and the lessons, I wrote this advice 2 years ago, and for accountability's sake, I'll share what I then did and what worked and what failed quite badly, and the ways that I was redirected. So since first writing about these ideas, I went full-time on the podcast, living the creator life, which has taught me more than I thought possible when it comes to making content. So I am feeling very good about this going into 2025, although I am definitely missing working with other people now after a few years, which is a problem I haven't worked out how to solve and would like to. The other thing I really tried to do from 2 years ago was I decided to try and break a bunch of world records, which you might remember me talking about. And I also plan to make fun YouTube videos about doing that, which as a project went kind of terribly and is a bit embarrassing. So I did manage to match the burpee world record, which was a pretty big achievement. And I did a lot of training for that, which was cool. But I didn't break the world record, and I gave myself a hernia in the process, which sucked. I had to wait around quite a long time to have a surgery to fix that, which finally happened last year. But I now have a permanent weird feeling in my abs ever since that, understandably. So I'm probably not going to go for that record again. But I do have some others on the line. And in 2023, whilst I was waiting for that hernia operation and couldn't work on other world records, I instead became a mountain guide in the Himalayas, which I'll understand if you think that sounds like a bit extreme. But hey, it was a brilliant life experience, and I certainly don't regret doing that. I definitely miss being there quite often. But yes, in the process of doing that, I gave myself more feet problems that I already had. I just made them worse. So I had to spend all of this year waiting around for a surgery on my foot because I couldn't really do anything silly like world records or ultramarathons or mountain climbing, which are the things I like doing. So right now I have had that surgery last month and I'm waiting for that all to heal. So perhaps later this year in 2025 will finally be the year where I break a world record. Maybe I don't go for these things and I learn my lessons and I just timidly do some normal stuff. We will see. but I am getting coaching this time. So hopefully I could make this a reality without breaking myself. And that would be really nice. So yes, when it comes to stop dreaming and start doing, do shoot for big goals, but sometimes get some coaching or help from people that know how to do it is one of the lessons I learned, rather than just going at it with full force and wrecking yourself in the process. Another thing that I mentioned was I was planning to do YouTube videos on the process. I really enjoyed making YouTube videos. It's hard to explain how much fun that was. I love telling stories, and the issue with this is I found it incredibly hard to do and a lot of time. And I simply couldn't manage doing that whilst also running a podcast if I wanted to do either of them at the quality that I would like to. So I had to put the more adventure side of my YouTube on hold completely. And in general, over the last 2 years, I totally failed to make half as much money as I would have liked to, let's say. And after 2 years, now it's a mild source of anxiety. So we'll see what happens if Bitcoin saves my ass this year, or if I have to do some form of consulting or a job like a normal human next year. Who knows? One option would be to maybe start going into coaching, which is something that I think I would enjoy. And so perhaps this problem could lead to some creative solutions that I would enjoy doing anyway. And that's all fine. I've never had a problem with making money whenever I need to. So I'm definitely very fortunate that I don't currently have kids or responsibilities just yet. But that is, of course, something I would like at some point in my life. And sometimes we do just have to take on responsibility. But regardless, for now, I'm very happy to start cycle touring again next year and try and visit each of the states in Portugal, which is where I live, and really focus on the podcast and diving a lot more into psychology and curiosity, which is what I feel makes this podcast excel. Okay, and then looking at my reports then, what we can see is that my struggles have shown a classic case of the four burners philosophy and what I always repeat about growth mindset in general, which is that you might be able to do anything you can think of, but you can't do everything. You have to make hard choices. And if you look at the four burners theory, you can imagine your life as a stove with four burners. And on those burners, you have family, friends, health, and work. And the four burners theory states that to be exceptional at anything, you have to turn off one of your burners, and to be truly outstanding, you have to turn off two of them. We can look at the story of Wolfgang Puck. He faced this exact choice in 1982. He was already a rising star chef in LA. Major networks were offering him lucrative TV deals that could have made him America's first celebrity chef. But Puck made a controversial choice and he turned them all down. For the next 5 years, he didn't focus on fame or quick wealth and ignored the networking and money burners completely to focus entirely on mastering his craft. He worked 16-hour days at the restaurant Spago, where he was perfecting every single dish. He mentored the cooks there. We call this deliberate practice, the intensive refinement of our skills through focused, uncomfortable work. Awkwardly, research shows that it takes roughly 10 years of deliberate practice to achieve true mastery in any field, or the famous concept of the 10,000 hours rule. By following this, ultimately, Wolfgang Puck's sacrifices paid off. When he finally stepped back into the spotlight in the late 80s, he wasn't just another TV chef. He had revolutionized American cuisine and he'd created something worth sharing. The lesson for us is that true professionals understand that excellence does demand sacrifice. You can't keep all of your burners running at full heat. It's very easy to run around in our lives just wanting to be great at everything. And that is one of the problems of being a dreamer, is that you're not willing to make the sacrifices to start doing one thing excellently. And you do have to ask yourself, which burners are you willing to turn down or temporarily turn off to make your dream a reality? Remember, you're not turning them off forever. You're just acknowledging that right now, in this season, something has to give. So the point is, you're going to have to make a regular practice or even cut out some of the things in your life to make sure that you actually turn these dreams into action and your ideas become reality. Otherwise, you're just going to be a dreamer. And what I want you to dwell on after this podcast is what things in your life are in the hobbyist dreamer category and you'd actually like to be more professional about. So for all these things, ask yourself the question, what do I need to actually do to become a doer and make these things a reality? What do I need to stop doing to prioritize this? Would something like a change of scenery or a change of my schedule make it easier for me? And what can I regularly commit to going forwards? personally, I will always be a dreamer. Like, this is part of my nature, but I'm really trying to nudge more of my dreams into reality. One of the reasons I started this podcast. And this episode is my nudge to you to help you go and make your dreams happen. If you want to do something that just seems unrealistic, it probably isn't as difficult as you think it is. It's just going to take some dedication and time. Bloody go and do it. Good luck. You're awesome. Never forget that. Now, make a process, take yourself seriously, and then others will take you seriously also. Thank you so much for listening.
Go you!
Your consistency to reach the end of an episode is legendary.
My hero!
But when we learn things, it's important to reflect. So I politely invite you to take a pause, rifle through the biggest ideas you just heard. So here's your opportunity to hit pause and have a think. Okay, did you wrestle with some insights? Information doesn't stick when we race from one podcast to the next without using our brain to play with the knowledge. So here's another go at a pause. Alrighty, I'll let you off to continue with your life now. If you have any ideas or feedback for the show, I'm always interested to hear from you.
You're the best!
And other than that, please stay curious. Curious. Quote. Smiling for no reason.